I invite you all to adopt a posture for prayer as we start this morning, please. Kind Father, loving and gracious God, we come before you this morning and we have so much to be grateful for. We are in the land of the living this morning. We could see your mercy and we want to give you praise. We bring these proceedings to you, dear God, this virtual launch of the ECSC e-litigation portal for the Commonwealth of Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We ask that you all the for everything that you have done and everything that we know you will continue to do for us. In your Son's name we pray. Amen. Her Lady, the Honorable Dame Janice M. Pereira, Chief Justice, Honorable Justices of Appeal of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Honorable High Court Judges and Masters of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Honorable Raven Blackmore, Minister of National Security, Home Affairs of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Honorable Magali Marin Young, SC, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs of Belize, Honorable John D. Martin, Attorney General of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honorable Levi A. Peter, Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Chief and Senior Magistrates and Magistrates, Ms. Joanne Commodore, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs, Ms. Shoma Dalrymple, Director of Public Prosecutions, Acting Director of Public Prosecutions of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Ms. Sajila McDowell, Director of Public Prosecutions of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ms. Tamika Burton, Solicitor General of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Ms. Karen Duncan, Solicitor General of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Mr. Randall Shepard, Assistant Solicitor General of Belize, Mr. Gregory Gerard, Court Administrator, Mr. Francis Latang, Deputy Court Administrator of the Court's headquarters, Mr. Carlos Cameron Michel, Deputy Chief Registrar of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court's headquarters, Mr. Mark Ernest, Information Technology Manager of the ECSC's headquarters, Ms. Marie-Therese Etienne, Registrar, and Ms. Nuraya Sebastian, Deputy Registrar of the High Court of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Ms. Andrea Young, Registrar, and Ms. Charlene Douglas, Deputy Registrar of the High Court of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ms. Jean Dyer, President of the OECS Bar Association, Ms. Renee Baptiste, CMG, President of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Bar Association, Mrs. Heather Felix Evans, President of the Dominica Bar Association, learned members of the Inner and Outer Bar of the Commonwealth of Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and throughout the OECS, Commissioner of Police of the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force, Commissioner of Police of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, staff of the court's headquarters and the High Court of the Commonwealth of Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, staff of the GIS services of Commonwealth of Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, members of the media, other specially invited guests. Good morning. It is my honor to extend a warm welcome to all of you. And in the same breath, thank you all for accepting our invitation to attend this launch and media briefing. I am ecstatic that this morning so many of us are gathered here to share in this experience, albeit virtually. A few years ago, the court began this journey in search of a most suitable software to host an e-litigation platform for the ECSC. Fast forward some 5 or 6 years later, here we are celebrating this outstanding achievement of launching our final 2 member states of our very own custom-made ECSC e-litigation portal. Today, we are here because of the hard work, diligence, and determination by so many who have prevailed and materialized into yet another milestone success for the ECSC. Success. See your goal. Understand the obstacles. Create a positive mental picture. Clear your mind of self-doubt. Embrace the challenge. Stay on track. Show the world you can do it. I am proud to say that the ECSC identifies with this mantra for success. The fact that you are all bearing witness to and sharing in this moment makes this accomplishment that much more meaningful. Along the way, the ECSC has had the support of many stakeholders, and high on this list has been the governments of the member states and territories which the court serves. The court could not have accomplished this without the support of the executive, and this includes the governments of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Today, as they continue to lend their support, we welcome the Honorable John D. Martin, Attorney General of St. Vincent and the Grenadines,
Sir, can you kindly unmute?
Yes. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, can hear you now. Thanks.
I missed the last part of what Madam Chief Registrar said as the connection got stuck a bit, but I take it that I'm being called upon to make my remarks.
Yes, Honorable Ichi. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Accordingly, I would proceed to adopt the already presented protocol list. And I bear in mind that we seem to have a relatively long program this morning. So I would accordingly be as brief as I possibly can in the circumstances. But it is really a great honor for me to have this opportunity to make these remarks, which I am making not only on my own behalf, but also on behalf of our Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Ralphie Gonsalves, who joins in what I have to say. This is indeed a special occasion, and I'm sure that it will go down in history as such. The significance of this event is brought home to us by the reality that we are in the midst of a struggle against a spike in infections, hospitalizations, and deaths resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. This is happening as we speak in our sub-region. More and more families are directly impacted as the pandemic deepens with the onset of more resilient variants. And I'm sad to say that my family as well has been directly affected, as I have lost my beloved grandmother, Miss Marian Smith, to the pandemic. All of the institutions of our cherished democracy are challenged, and we have had to take measures to preserve them. And this, too many, would seem to be a move outside of what is the normal. Hence, we have had to deal with the incidents of objections, many protests in our region as persons seek to present alternatives to what was formerly the normal scheme of things. We all know, many of us here are persons in the legal profession. We all know that the rule of law is a fundamental principle of our democracy. And this is institutionalized in our own Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. The court, as we all know, in its functions, is a bastion of our democracy. And it is this court is one that we can certainly be proud of in our region. And I see our Chief Justice here with us this morning, but I must say and must emphasize that for us, she has really truly been a leader. Her leadership is indeed cherished in all of this. She has successfully led the way in ensuring that the courts, as the ultimate guarantor for rights and freedoms, maintain its ability to function as the effect of the pandemic widens. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have had to face the ravages of the eruption of our La Soufrière volcano, which displaced over 20,000 persons. And this was in the midst of the pandemic. In all of this, we have seen the court and our able judiciary at the forefront as measures were put in place almost instantaneously to keep this institution, which turned out to be one of the most challenged, operational. Today, the court continues to lead the way in the face of our many challenges and crises. And we see this in this event to launch the E-Litigation portal. I dare to say that the other institutions of our democracy, being the executive and parliament and so on, they have had to follow the lead and recommendations of the judiciary in many respects. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have already seen the learned Chief Justice and her team as she exercised her rulemaking power in statutory instruments numbers 1, 2, and 3 of 2020. Statutory instrument number 3 in particular brought into effect the electronic litigation filing and service procedure rules. It was only recently that here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we were able to pass the Court of Justice fees, which is a pillar upon which this e-litigation portal stands. And the passage of this act was hampered by a number of delays as in Parliament as the pandemic caused postponement to several scheduled sittings. This portal, this e-litigation portal, which is being launched here today, is an ultimate measure in our arsenal against the pandemic. It guarantees our court's continued functions despite the other measures that we have had to implement. we are satisfied that our court will continue its work despite what we have had to face. So I take this opportunity again on behalf of the government and people of the state of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to personally, and on behalf of the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Ralphie Gonsalves, thank the Honorable Chief Justice for her leadership, expertise, and in particular, her readiness to represent and champion the cause of the people of our sub-region. And with these remarks, it is my pleasure to welcome the launch of this e-litigation portal to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable AG, for these remarks. This morning, we are also delighted to have with us the Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, Minister of National Security and Home Affairs for the Commonwealth of Dominica. As we invite Honorable Minister to give brief remarks, I ask that you please make him welcome. Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. Your Lordship, the Honorable Chief Justice, Honorable High Court Judges and Masters of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, the Honorable Attorney General, Minister of Legal Affairs, Honorable Martin, Attorney General of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honorable Levi Peters, Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Chief Magistrates and Magistrates, my Permanent Secretary, Joan Commodore, in the Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs, Ms. Shoma Darampo, Public Prosecutor of Dominica Acting, all the officers of the courts, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning all. Let me first of all apologize for I encountered some technical difficulties, but I'm happy to be here this morning. Let me just follow the Honorable Minister, Attorney General, of the beautiful country of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I've been reminded that the Honorable Minister for Dominica has to give brief remarks. And I'm going to ensure that I keep to that protocol. Let me just add that the government of this beautiful country, Dominica, has over the years recognized that the operations of the court are an integral part of society. Therefore, we fully appreciate that the courts have a responsibility to society, and therefore must ensure that everyone, irrespective of the social space, has equal access to the courts. This government therefore fully appreciates the need for accessibility of the courts, especially in the aftermath of natural disasters such as Hurricane Maria, and during this deadly COVID-19 pandemic, which sadly is still with us. We are now living in a modern era, and the courts must move with the time to be relevant. Certainly, this launch of the e-litigation portal is a move to a more modern court system that can take us into the future. And I've been advised by the Registrar General Acting of Dominica, this new system is accessible, transparent, and highly efficient. There are many lessons learned from Hurricane Maria in Dominica, which we shall never forget, the month of September 2017. Bearing in mind the tremendous damage suffered by the Supreme Court registry here in Dominica. As we all are perfectly aware of, we are currently being faced with a pandemic which has caused people to work from home, and that members of the public, as well as legal practitioners, access services of the court remotely. The government throughout the Caribbean fully understand the need for continued and uninterrupted access to justice. This, I must say, the era of tedious process of retrieval of paper files by our court staff is slowly coming to an end, as the e-litigation process has presented a clear path to the provision of full transparency in the filing of court documents. And this, in my view, is very significant and historic. In fact, I'll say further, the ability to migrate from previously filed matters onto the portal is an excellent avenue for all parties to a matter to ensure that all documents are visible on the portal from any location. And that is very important also, I must add. This, in my view, provides a highly increased level of transparency, which must be emphasized in clear and simple terms. I, for one, am elated as the minister with responsibility for the courts, not in the capacity of the Chief Justice and the officers of the court, but as a politician. That I have been part of the process and have played a little role, a very minute role, in facilitating the achievement of this tremendous milestone of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court as a whole and here in Dominica. Further, with your permission, Your Lordship, the e-litigation portal, without a doubt, provide a great avenue for increased efficiency in the process of the court and in the functions of the Supreme Court staff. It is notable that documents may be filed at any time, even outside normal business hours, and with added help of online alerts. The scheduling of court matters, the conduct of court hearings, and execution of service documents no longer be delayed by the lengthy process of paper filing and, of course, stamping and physical collection of filed documents from the registry. It is in having regard to all these advantages and appreciating the positive impact of that e-litigation portal we have on the justice system in Dominica, that as early as 2019, the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court SRO number 2 of 2019 was approved by our government, and it is in keeping with this SRO that all new legal proceedings filed in the Commonwealth of Dominica from August 4, 2021 can now be filed electronically onto the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court e-litigation portal. The Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs and the government and people of this beautiful country of Dominica celebrate this achievement of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court and look forward to the tremendous benefits that our citizens in Dominica will enjoy for the establishment of this portal and through its continued availability to all persons who are seeking access to justice. Your Lordship permit me to, however, encourage the court to continually provide, without fail, the required technical support to all users of the e-litigation portal, especially in person, as well as legal practitioners of age, if I may say, of advanced age, to be more politically correct, who may require specialized and patient help as they seek to navigate and adjust to this new method of filing of legal proceedings. I therefore take this opportunity once again to congratulate you, Your Lordship, for your tremendous leadership and the many calls to ensure that the politicians were responsive to a critical call on the launching of the e-litigation portal. And as I close, I also wish to express and renew my government's continued commitment to work with the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, as together we seek to ensure that all citizens of Dominica remain unimpeded in the pursuit of access to justice. And with these very few remarks, I thank you very much, Your Lordship.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Blackmore, for not only your presence here this morning and your remarks, but your unwavering support to the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, especially during this period. We thank you.
Thank you very much.
For decades, the bar associations throughout the OECS have valiantly championed the cause of the wider legal profession and the overall pursuit of an efficient justice system for the Eastern Caribbean. In every member state, the Bar Association has played an integral part in propelling the change from what was well known and comfortable to what was different and in some ways daunting for some. The ECSC is truly grateful to the Bar Associations for their continued efforts in enhancing the dispensation of justice in the OECS, in particular with the transition to the e-litigation portal. Today, as a testament of this support, we invite to give brief remarks Mrs. Heather Felix Evans, President of the Bar Association of the Commonwealth of Dominica, who will be immediately followed by Ms. Renee Baptiste, CMG, President of the Bar Association of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Please make them welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chief Registrar. Good morning. Her Ladyship, the Honorable Dame Janice M. Pereira, DBE, LLD Chief Justice, Honorable Justices of Appeal of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Honorable High Court Judges and Masters of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, Minister of National Security and Home Affairs, Commonwealth of Dominica, Honorable Magali Marine Young, SC, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs of Belize, Honorable John D. Martin, Attorney General, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honorable Levi A. Peter, Attorney General, Commonwealth of Dominica. And at this point, I adopt the rest of the protocol list as established by the Chief Registrar, Master of Ceremonies. Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past and the present are certain to miss the future. These words, spoken by John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States of America, in an address in Frankfurt, Germany in 1963, are relevant to the changes we embrace today. Hitching a ride on that train to the future, court users on this lovely nature island began to experience great change in the manner in which they submit, file, process, access, manage, and serve court documents when the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court e-litigation went live for the Commonwealth of Dominica on 3rd August 2021. Since then, approximately 1/3 of our law firms, including the Attorney General's chambers, the DPP's office, the legal aid clinic, and sole practitioners, have used it to commence claims and/or respond to claims filed on the portal, to make and respond to bail applications, to apply for the grant of probate and letters of administration, and to apply for adoptions. The experience of the legal practitioners has been both challenging and rewarding. I am confident that in very short time, many more firms will have completed their first filings on the e-litigation portal. Let me assure you, my colleagues and your staff who have not yet done a filing on the e-litigation portal, your first time is likely not going to be swift and uneventful. Be prepared to spend at a minimum a few hours trying to get the first documents successfully submitted. Be prepared to try to figure out what to do when for no apparent reason you are blocked. Be prepared to start over many times when creating a case. Be prepared to call headquarters for technical support when, despite your best efforts, you just cannot accomplish the submission of a document. And be prepared to have that burst of satisfaction when you have finally succeeded in filing your documents. The significant benefits of filing and service on the e-litigation portal, or e-filing and service, have been touted by all users of that platform. These include: 1, it saves costs. For example, court documents can be prepared, signed, and converted to PDFs without the need for any printing and scanning in order to upload on the portal. And except for the initiating documents, there is no longer the need to serve documents manually or personally, except if required by legislation, rules of court, or a court order. This means that law offices will now do less printing and copying and use less paper, thereby reducing their overheads and the disbursement costs to their clients. 2, it is immediately date stamped when filed. 3, it is not reliant on court staff to confirm or seal documents submitted. 4, it allows for a party or parties to have instant notice of the filing of documents by the other party or parties. This leads to quicker reactions to developments in a case and ultimately to cases being addressed or resolved in quicker time. 5, it allows all parties to have full access to all documents in an active case. 6, it provides for better management of case files, and consequently, it eliminates the risk of lost documents and files. 7, it provides for faster and more efficient retrieval of filed documents. 8, it allows for better management of cases. 9, it eliminates or significantly reduces reliance on employees and weather conditions to do court filings and serve court documents. 10, it allows for the submission of documents for filing and service at any time and from any place once there is internet access. And 11, it provides a transparent system of instantaneous accounting for filing fees. Our recent and continuing experience of trying to serve the needs of our clients in a COVID-19 pandemic environment has established the virtual courtroom as the standard venue for hearings and even trials. And it has made the closing arguments for the case that e-filing and service is a necessity, not an option. To the very few legal practitioners who may be daunted by having to use the e-litigation portal, I offer these quotes to encourage and fortify you. Alan Watts, the English writer, said, "The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance." In their best-selling book, Flight of the Buffalo, Soaring to Excellence, Learning to Let Employees Lead, co-authors James Velasco and Ralph Steyer wrote, "Change is hard because people overestimate the value of what they have and underestimate the value of what they may gain by giving that up. So don't be left behind. Join the dance. Come on board. The benefits of e-filing and service are ours for the taking. On behalf of the Dominica Bar Association, I applaud and say a hearty thank you to the various actors who have made e-filing and service in the Commonwealth of Dominica a reality. In particular, the Honorable Chief Justice and other judges of the Supreme Court, the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and the technical team of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Courts. The legal profession looks forward to the full transition to the new system. We are confident that court users and the justice system will gain considerable advantages from using the electronic litigation, filing, and service procedure, and that the administration of justice will be better served and substantially improved with the implementation of this system. I thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Her Ladyship, the Honorable Dame Justice Janice Pereira, the Honorable Justice of Appeal, Court of Appeal, the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, the Honorable High Court Judges and Masters of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Honorable Ministers, the Honorable Attorney General of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the Commonwealth of Dominica, the Chief and Senior Magistrates, Masters of the High Court, other distinguished permanent secretaries, the Director of Public Prosecution, and the Solicitors General of the Commonwealth of Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with members of staff of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court Administration offices, registrars of the High Court of St. Vincent and Dominica, our distinguished colleagues, senior members of the bar, other invited guests, members of the media, good morning. This is what we would say is a red letter day. And for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, taking the last leg, the last baton in this particular relay in the updating of all the systems of our court. At this time in the turn of the 21st century, the 1970 rules of the Supreme Court were replaced by the CPR 2000. 20 years later, we move into yet another phase of the transformation of the court system and the management and the reformation of access to justice. Being the last ones to take the baton right to the finish line, we had to develop other systems to meet the emerging needs in which we now live and work. Technology dominates, especially when it works. We cannot afford to be left behind. See, the pace of business has changed, and we now must also change our posture to meet those needs. The feedback I've received from practitioners so far this week is one, they have to update their internal computer systems. I did a random poll of about 25% of the practitioners, and only about maybe 10 have already begun to use the portal. I received a squeak of delight from one young practitioner that it went as smooth as silk. And members from the Attorney General office indicated, we are first on board and it is a wonderful experience. For some others, every step of the way, they will report, oh yes, I've just set up my account. The escrow account works. The filing is easy. Oh, and don't forget, now these days, someone could steal a match on you because they can file at 11 o'clock in the night. I expect that this rollout phase and the first few weeks of the operations of the portal, there will be some new challenges for some members of staff and also some members of the legal profession. I have already asked some of the younger ones to assist the older ones, since we have about 2 members of our bar in their 90s and 2 in their 80s. This is not what they dreamt about. They only saw it with Captain Kirk time. As the system is rolled out, we want to thank the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the role they played. But I must compliment and applaud our distinguished Chief Justice for her continuous engagement with all the heads in our country, from the Attorney General's chambers to my offices, and also to the Prime Minister's office, to ensure that this e-litigation portal operations are now in place in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It was no easy task with the competition of many other issues. This process, I want to commend to the members of the Bar of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Change is always difficult and it looks challenging. However, if we must also participate in the further economic development, there will always be issues relating to the rule of law that must be adjudicated. And this new portal gives us an additional tool in our arsenal to ensure that the services that we provide are transparent and accountable, because now you're not waiting on the bailiff to serve anymore. It's done. And it's recorded, and so is the time. Let me also compliment the staff of the court office in St. Lucia for their willingness to assist and support those who need it at this particular time. I urge my colleagues to continue to jump on board and the younger practitioners to continue to give that support in the technology area to the older colleagues. I take this opportunity as well to indicate that this doorway that has been opened will continue to provide the much needed funding, independent somewhat in the early stages from the other purses of the state, and that this fund will build up and become something that most of us would have dreamt of in the 20th century. I also want to take this opportunity, with your permission, my Lady Chief Justice, to compliment you on the latest accolade that you have received in being listed among the leading women, Caribbean women, jurists in the state. It was a delight for me to read that you were the first woman High Court judge, first woman to be the Chief Justice of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. You see, we always have a little deficiency in our region in complimenting and putting in writing for the record the achievement of our women in all spheres of life. For us, of course, with jealousy, I say that the women in law deserve their place in history. I commend this e-litigation portal to all our colleagues and wish it continued success and further development, because the technologists say you still have a way to go. I don't know, but thank you very much for all the work that you have done on behalf of the members of the Bar, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Thank you.
It appears that our Chief Registrar may be experiencing some difficulties, and so I will help to move the program along. I believe next we have our feature address by Her Ladyship, the Honorable Dame Janice M. Pereira, DBE, LLD, Chief Justice of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. And whilst I may not be able to do this introduction as our Master of Ceremonies may have, I do wish to invite Her Ladyship to give those remarks right now. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you so kindly, Mr. Michel, or Deputy Chief Registrar, for stepping in so very quickly and smoothly in this space as we operate, or we are operating completely within our virtual spaces. Honorable Justices of Appeal of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Honorable High Court Judges and Masters of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, the Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, Minister of National Security and Home Affairs of the Commonwealth of Dominica, the Honorable Magali Marin Young, Senior Counsel, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs of Belize, Honorable John D. Martin, Attorney General of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Honorable Levi Peter, Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Chief and Senior Magistrates and Magistrates, Ms. Joanne Commodore, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs, Ms. Sherma Dalrymple, Director of Public Prosecutions in the Commonwealth of Dominica, Ms. Sajela McDowell, Director of Public Prosecutions in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Solicitors General of the Commonwealth of Dominica and of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Mr. Randall Shepherd, Assistant Solicitor General of Belize, Mrs. John Thibbles, the Chief Registrar, Mr. Gregory Gerard, our Court Administrator, and otherwise permit me to adopt the protocol that has been so ably established by our Chief Registrar at the commencement of this launch. Good morning to all of you. It is my great honor and immense pleasure to have this opportunity to address you today as we finally launch jointly the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court's e-litigation portal in the Commonwealth of Dominica and St. Vincent. This is our first joint official launch, and it really is where we have reached a milestone in relation to the implementation of the court's e-litigation portal. Now, plans, of course, for launching the portal in Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines had been in the pipeline for quite a while. Had it not been for the COVID-19 pandemic, we would have gathered in person for an event like this. And I'm also sure that we would have reached this milestone earlier than now. But there is a saying, better late than never. And so I am absolutely delighted that this launch is now finally a reality. Before I go further, I wish to extend a warm welcome to every single one of you joining us here on this platform today. It is indeed a momentous occasion. I am heartened by the presence of the Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, Minister of National Security and Home Affairs, the Honorable Levi A. Peter, Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Dominica, the Honorable John D. Martin, Attorney General of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Their presence is indicative of the tremendous government support for the court, fully embracing new technologies to improve the administration of justice. We have heard the Honorable Minister Blackmore speak about the portal and our steps in getting to this point, as well as the Honorable John D. Martin. And I hearken to have regard to those words of encouragement and the support that we have been given throughout. I also wish to extend a special welcome to the delegation from the Attorney General's chambers in Belize, comprising the Honorable Magali Marin Young, Senior Counsel and Minister of Legal Affairs, and Mr. Randall Shepherd, Assistant Solicitor General, who are visiting with us during the course of this week on what we would say is a sort of visit, fact-finding, and really seeking to gain insight into the court's operations. That has made us proud that another judiciary considers that we in the Eastern Caribbean, we are doing something, and there may be steps and processes that they can emulate. And so we are happy to have them join us on this occasion, on this launch of these two portals in our two member states of Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I must confess that I never would have imagined in November 2018, when we initially launched the portal in the territory of the Virgin Islands, that it would have been as critical as it has been to the administration of justice in the OECS. Having also recognized how instrumental the portal became in navigating the COVID-19 pandemic, we forged ahead with plans to launch the portal in all member states and territories, even if it meant adapting or training strategies to a combination of remote and blended approaches. Now we know that that is not as effective as in person, and we pledge our support in continuing to ensure that we assist litigators, legal practitioners alike, and of course, our court staff across the OECS, always in seeking to ensure that the portal operates smoother and smoother without any glitches whatsoever. So this milestone for the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court is of even greater significance in the current COVID environment. All you need to ask yourself is this: how was the court able to continue dealing with cases, particularly at the appellate level, were it not for the use of ICT? And so I am proud to boast that the Court of Appeal, which sits more than 24 times in any year, missed only one sitting, and that was at the onset of the pandemic in March of last year. How did we achieve this? We did it through the use of the portal and other ICT technologies. As many of you know, the portal went live in the Commonwealth of Dominica in August and in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in late September of this year, making good on our promise to link all of the courts across the court's jurisdiction electronically. In the short time that has elapsed since the portal went live in Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the portal has already begun transforming the way in which counsel and litigants there engage the court's processes. Persons are now filing, serving, and paying electronically. The portal, in my view, has made a positive difference to the court's operations in myriad ways. It has brought about the ease of accessing and managing electronic documents from anywhere in the world, despite natural disasters and despite the ongoing pandemic. As we know, courts are institutions that survive all of us. Whether we have pandemics, whether we have natural disasters, the courts must be there in our democratic societies. And interestingly, no sooner than the portal going live in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the court office was forced to close for a few days due to COVID concerns, but filings were able to proceed online. As you will no doubt hear, and you have heard from two of the legal practitioners already in the names of the presidents of the Bar of Dominica, Mrs. Heather Felix Evans and Ms. Renee Baptiste, that filings and indeed work can continue as we become each day with its use more and more familiar. And so it is now critical to the continued administration of justice. The workflow of legal practitioners, as you've heard and will hear a little later, continues with greater ease. And so I am thrilled that Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines are now finally experiencing the benefits that the other member states and territories have been enjoying for some time. The portal will contribute towards increasing the transparency, as we have heard, of court services, as well as access to the court by litigants themselves. The experience of lost or misplaced files. How many times do we hear that? Sometimes complaints reach as far as my chair in relation to lost or misplaced files within our court system. This portal ensures that lost or misplaced files should become a thing of the past. We should be able to retrieve almost immediately a document once it has been filed. We have also heard, and I agree, the significance too, is the cost savings to the court and the cost savings to the practitioners and litigants alike. And I'm sure that most of you appreciate no longer having to incur the costs of printing and binding voluminous bundles in preparation for trial and court hearings at every level of the court. At the level of the Court of Appeal, the benefits that we have experienced are even greater. Filing physical appeal documents and incurring the expense of mailing them to the court's headquarters in St. Lucia, all of that should very quickly become a thing of the past. The benefits for all judicial officers are numerous. Judges of the High Court and the Court of Appeal will now finally be able to access documents for matters listed for court sittings in Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines with ease via the portal. Currently, I must add this, because of the portal and because of the situation with the pandemics, we have been able with ease to allow quite a few of our judges to be able to work remotely in other parts of the Caribbean and indeed other parts of the world without impacting the quality of justice in relation to the decision-making process or in their hearings. That to me is such a big benefit. Happier judicial officers who are able, without the stress that the COVID pandemic already brings, it at least gives a bit of a dimension to an ease to that stress in terms of their ability to operate smoothly, efficiently, confidently, and without loss in relation to their family lives. And so these things for me, they are very welcomed benefits. All of these features lead to a speedier resolution of cases, greater cost savings to court users, and indeed the governments, and to practitioners alike. While the launch of the E-Litigation portal will continue to result in many changes to the traditional ways of doing things in Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as we have heard again from our previous speakers, technology is here to stay. We have to grab it by the horns and make it work for us. As Mrs. Felix Evans said, join the dance. And so it remains a key component of the court's mandate to provide access to a system of justice that is fair, efficient, and effective. It cannot be overemphasized that the people of Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and indeed the entire OECS region, which is served by the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, and for which we have a responsibility in service to the people of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, that they deserve a modern, responsive system of justice, equal to any in any developed region in the world. This cannot be achieved without increased reliance on modern technologies such as the portal. And so I would encourage all of our stakeholders in Dominica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, all across the OECS, to fully embrace what the portal can and will do for us. To this end, I want to point out that some time ago, a few months ago, I had the privilege of doing a training video presented at a legal education session for members of the OECS bar, and since then circulated to all bar associations, demonstrating step by step how to prepare electronic bundles. I took the opportunity some time ago to commend that video to other legal practitioners, and I take the opportunity to reiterate what I said then to say to you, take a little time, view that training video, because what it does is it makes a world of difference in your legal presentations to the court. Before, when we spoke about being physically on the same page in relation to references to documents before the court, once you have really grasped how to handle PDF documents, it is with such greater ease of doing that electronically. And I assure you that the equipment and the technology needed to really take advantage of all of these benefits, it is really not at all costly. What you really need is a really good, strong internet connection, a robust application for creating and managing PDF files, and a good scanner. These are simple bits of technological equipment that I think if you invested will really assist you in improving your delivery in terms of the law and the service to clients. Of course, our implementation of this portal in St. Vincent and in Dominica, it does not end here. This is simply the first phase. We are now moving into the second phase of our implementation. And that second phase will see an expansion in the types of matters that are covered on the portal to include high court criminal matters and also family matters. I know a number of our other judiciaries in the region, they are touting the fact of court pay in terms of family matters and maintenance matters. We are getting there as well, and we hope to get there sooner rather than later. The team at the court's headquarters is hard at work toward making this a reality. And so I anticipate that the second stage will begin to take shape in the upcoming months. It would be remiss of me if I did not place on record my sincere appreciation to the Chief Registrar and her team, our Court Administrator, Mr. Gregory Gerard, Mr. Dwayne Brissett, our Information Services Manager and his team, our IT Manager, Mr. Mark Ernest and his team, and all the other members of staff at the court's headquarters, as well as Ms. Marie-Therese Etienne, Registrar of the High Court in Dominica, and her staff, as well as Ms. Andrea Young, Registrar of the High Court in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and her staff, for all their assistance in making today's e-litigation portal launch possible. We could not have achieved this milestone without the hard work of everyone involved. I also express appreciation for the interest shown by the public and private bars. Your presence at this launch demonstrates your support for what we have and what we will continue to achieve together. It is my hope that you will all share in our excitement as we welcome Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines to the e-litigation portal. I thank you all for your presence here and across our member states and territories for your attendance at this launch and your interest in the work of the court. We look forward to your continued support as we embark on the second stage of the portal's implementation. Together, we will ensure that the people of the Eastern Caribbean have access to a system of justice in which they can remain proud. And so, in closing, I welcome you, the citizens and residents of the Commonwealth of Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to the e-litigation portal. Welcome to the first stage of the e-judiciary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my lady. Warren Bennis, who's one of the world's leading experts on leadership, said, leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. And you would all agree that Dame Janice has been the impetus behind the e-litigation portal. And as our captain, she has steered us through uncharted waters to translate into reality the vision of ECSC, e-litigation portal. My lady, we thank you for your vision. We thank you for your leadership. And we thank you for your wonderful remarks here this morning. We, the team at headquarters, we continue to pledge our support to you as we roll out into the other phases. Thank you once more. The ECSC e-litigation portal has transformed the way in which we do business, as many of you know, providing court users and stakeholders with access to assigned services anytime, anywhere, on any electronic device, and with other refined features. To share with us a demonstration of the portal, we invite one of the key persons behind the training and implementation of the portal, our very own Mr. Mark Ernest, IT Manager of the ECSC's headquarters. Please make him welcome, Mr. Ernest.
Thank you, Chief Registrar. Thanks for the opportunity again to participate in another launch. I won't consider this, as Chief said, this is just phase one, so I will not say this is the last launch, but of course, the last of this phase of the launch. So with your permission, permit me to adopt the protocol already established. Chief Justice, and thanks for the opportunity to be part of that project. And again, we are quite grateful as a team to be involved in a project like this. Chief Registrar, confirm that you can see my screen. Chief Registrar, yes. A nod of yes.
Sorry, yes, I can see. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. So, Chief Registrar didn't give me a time limit to present, so I guess I have all the time in the world. But certainly, I'll try to be as brief as possible as well. I have a list of slides that I would like to share with you. Primarily, I would like to share with you the genesis of the court through use of technology, starting with GEMS and taking us to where we are today, which is the e-litigation portal. So we'll start with a background of electronic case management in the sub-region, look at GEMS itself and some of its limitations and its positive impacts, look at efforts by the ECSC to implement e-filing solutions, and of course, the big picture for us, how Crimson Logic came into the picture, look at the benefits of the portal, most of which have been shared by our Chief Justice, and of course, I'm sure we will get testimonials to of course, highlight some of those benefits as well. And leading us down to some of our recent training in Dominica and and St. Vincent. So background to case management in the sub-region. We have GEMS. GEMS was implemented. Of course, GEMS is not G, but J, meaning Judicial Enforcement Management System. Quite a few persons consider it as a GEM, but it's in fact GEMS. Was introduced in almost, yes, 2000, year 2000. And for us, it represented the first major technological intervention associated with management of court cases in the sub-region. GEMS in its current form is not web-based, and the software is not directly accessible by legal practitioners and others in the court process. But it has had some impact. GEMS has provided court offices the ability to manage cases electronically from initiation to disposition. And we have noted several key features of that system. It has facility to manage warrants, bond management, tracking, docket scheduling, management of cause lists, and that this was, GEMS, I'm saying was, in the context of civil and appeal matters, but still used for criminal. The cause list was one of that key feature of GEMS. Manages also information on sentencing, judgments, payments, processing, restitution, accounting, and the works, of course, reports. But again, as I indicated, we have been experienced, and we have experienced some key issues with GEMS. GEMS, from a technical perspective, the limitations involve the fact that it's what you call a Windows-based application, client server, and as I said, not web-based, so meaning it's restricted to a certain location where the software is installed. The implementation involved then the installation of servers at each High Court office in the sub-region. These servers provided GEMS access to local clients, and remote clients such as the out-district courts as well, but these required additional technology configuration. The term I do not want to use it. The current architecture of GEMS, we've noticed, is untenable for courts in the sub-region, especially for our Court of Appeal, the way it operates as an IT court. The application itself has several issues. One is associated with the perpetual issue of unresolved bugs that we experience on the system. When we have upgrades, new issues surface. There is for us at the central or headquarters that lack of complete control of data within member states. Servers being located in separate member states makes it a little difficult for us to manage and control data. Another big thing for us was the inability to provide quick support. And we couldn't maintain, as we do now, even a 24-hour service level agreement with GEMS. But we have had some efforts with e-filing. And 3 years come to focus here. In 2003, we started, and that's just around the time I joined the court actually. We started the process of speaking to a premier e-filing vendor called Tibera. And of course, they were linked to PCSS then, PCSS being the developer of that software GEMS, but that partnership fell through, so nothing happened then. The other big and major thing happened with our current Chief Justice, where where the Chief Justice, Office of the Chief Justice, developed what we call the necessary practice directions to facilitate filings by emails. Now, this was clearly what we call a rudimentary way of filing. We would have users from especially the BVI uploading their documents onto a shared drive, and court staff here at headquarters accessing those documents. And then obviously having to input those into GEMS, be it Amanda, which is called a different version of GEMS then. For us, these two systems were disjoint. You have a collection of forms and information or files, and then we have our case management system. The year 2015 marked the year where we got introduced to Crimson Logic, and this then Chief Justice led efforts for us to implement what we now call an integrated case management and e-filing solution. And this paved the way for several things. In 2016, after discussion with Crimson Logic, we decided to undertake a study tour of e-filing solutions in Singapore. Later that year, in 2016, we had Crimson Logic to undertake a diagnostic study in some courts in the sub-region. They took some time. The following year, in 2017, we had Crimson Logic finally submitting a technical and financial proposal to the court. Of course, that proposal was accepted, which takes us to actually using what we call our portal today. The process continued where we had our first project kickoff in 2017, that's July. And then we started what we call a user acceptance testing process, where we had configurations made to the software, especially for use for commercial, civil, and of course, appeal matters. And we tested this in 3 member states. We started training in September of 2018, and training was focusing in St. Lucia and the BVI. 2018 marked that, November 2018 marked that point where we started the implementation, phase implementation of the portal, again in St. Lucia and the BVI. Takes us to where we are today. At the end of 2019, we had St. Lucia and Territory of the Virgin Islands being able to file and having gone live with civil, commercial, and appeal matters. Anguilla followed suit along with St. Kitts in 2019 with civil and appeal matters. In 2020, of course, with COVID stepping in, we were barely able to do 2 member states, Antigua and Barbuda and Montserrat. And of course, this year, we've just done Grenada, Commonwealth of Dominica, St. Vincent. As Chief Justice said, phase 1. Phase 2, criminal and family, High Court, Magistrates Court, Family Court. This is where we are going next. There have been some benefits, several benefits to the portal. And of course, as I said, Chief mentioned some of those. At a basic level, we'll see that the portal serves as that platform that provides the ECSC with an avenue, 1, to increase operational efficiency, contribute towards increasing the transparency of court services, and improve access to services to stakeholders by making those services available anytime, anywhere, on any device. At a broader level, the portal is sharpening that competitive edge of the OECS sub-region, and it's standing in the world economy by having a positive impact on the World Bank Ease of Doing Business Index for those member states. So this is where we have seen the impact of the portal. What are some of the features of the portal? I will do this by highlighting some screenshots, some of those features. So there are just 11 of them. I'll just want to quickly pinpoint to you. We have attorneys and of course law firms operating by an escrow account. That means that they will top up their account either using the credit card or using the bank draft. The ECSC will top up those accounts, and then they will be reflected as soon as a lawyer logs into the system. So there's no chance that a lawyer can log in and say, oh, there's no money. Well, they can say there's no money, they cannot file, but cannot get to the stage of filing without knowing the balance, so to speak. So this is the first thing that appears, and this is what the dashboard of the portal looks like. Another screen I would like to share with you is the fact that lawyers have access to all the case files. So no opportunity for cases to be lost, of documents to be misplaced. Lawyers and law firms have access to all the files, and all the case files, and within those case files are all the documents. Updating of case files can be done using several functions, and some of these include the ability to add advocate, remove an advocate from a case, the whole concept of recording return of service, creating a hearing index, the ability to file additional documents into a case that has been created, the whole concept of pack and go, which is very useful, where law firms and lawyers can actually download aspects of their cases onto a jump drive. So in case there's no power or no electricity or no internet, they can have access to those case files. The whole idea of creating hearing bundles is also a feature that's available on the portal, along with withdrawal representation. Portal is notable for its ability to provide service online. And whenever a document is filed, the opposing side would receive notification to that effect. Notification on the portal is in the form of messages and tasks, and also those persons will be getting emails. So this is integral to the portal. Service done when a document is filed by one party, the other party is deemed served when those documents are in fact filed on the portal. Another area I'd like to quickly share with you is the ability to maintain the various processes of the court. The whole idea of filing ex parte documents, that can be done again on the portal. And of course, next to this is the ability to seal, having a document sealed. Again, that's a big thing on the portal. Another feature is the ability related to seal to note that a document, if you're logged in as a legal practitioner or legal secretary, you see a padlock next to a document in your document list, you know that that document is sealed. And typically, one would seal a witness statement when it is filed until the registrar or the judge decides that these should be unsealed. The whole idea of ad hoc filing, I touched on it a while ago. You can at any point within a case file a document, and before that document is actually submitted, you are able to see what the fees are, or the admin, which we call our facilitation fee is, and then verify everything is correct and then submit. So at any time, folks can file into the portal. Again, related to filing is the ability to see a listing of all your documents filed in what we call a case file receipt or transaction receipt. And this can be shared with the client. You file a claim form, it was $50 plus the facilitation fee of $2, $52. All of this is reflected nicely on the portal. Lawyers now have the ability to see all the matters that are scheduled and what time and what day these matters are scheduled. Again, the system also has the ability to check for conflicts. So again, those cases will be reflected there. All cases will be reflected. And of course, while the court is scheduling a matter, checks if a lawyer who's party to a case has any other matter scheduled on that day. If that lawyer does, then obviously it would prompt to ask the lawyer whether this is still possible. And that becomes very useful when we move on to the magistrate's court, where lawyers have matters both in the magistrate's court and the high court. But all in all the matters will be visible in the calendar aspect of the portal. With filing anytime and anywhere, lawyers have the ability to start a matter in the sense of putting all the documents together and saving it as draft until they are ready to submit. So again, if there are 3 or 4 or 5, whatever number of matters are being worked on at a time in a law firm, these would be listed in what we call the draft cases folder. And lastly, when a document is filed, you get the red stamp placed at the top, the case number at the top right or left, sorry. And on the right, we have the actual stamp the date submitted and the date filed. And of course, there's that difference between date submitted and date filed to distinguish the cases where you're filing on at a particular time, which is not during the operating hours of the court. So that's, and in that case, I'm demonstrating what an order looks like in the court, just a sample. In addition, the portal allows for plethora of reports. So you have action tally report, you have each pending cases report, case clearance, listing of inactive cases, hearing lists, cases filed report, several, and we are working with the developers to develop many more reports on the portal. What has happened to date? Portal statistics. To date, we have 631 law firms on the portal. Registered legal practitioners and users, 1,433. Accompanying them with legal secretaries, we have 880. To date, 7,598 matters have been filed on the portal. Appeal matters, 566. What has happened within our last 2 member states who have gone live? Dominica, we have 44 law firms have registered. In St. Vincent, we have just 2 less, 42. So we completed our string of training in these 2 member states, and of course, targeting as we've done in other member states, high court judges and staff, legal practitioners and secretaries, staff from AG's office and DPP, and of course, other staff, include other staff members from FIU, police and prosecutors and so forth. So in Dominica, we had our systems administrator starring. So we have section of the training of staff in Dominica. Just showing this with you quickly. We had a couple of large groups in Dominica as well. And in Dominica, we trained over 100+ legal practitioners and secretaries. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we start with the AG's chambers staff and took them throughout the day. We also had several training with legal practitioners in St. Vincent and in St. Vincent as well, trying to follow the health protocols in place. We had I think a total of over 100 as well, legal practitioners and secretaries trained. We had a first law firm going live in St. Vincent and was able to take that law firm through. That's Frederick's Attorneys and Notary Public. And we were pleased to be with them to go live. And the success of that, we registered. So Attorney at Law, Ms. Vinette Frederick, with a clerk, successfully creating the first case on the portal. And again, we wanted to thank them for being brave enough to take that plunge and to go live while we were in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The implementation team, of course, as Chief Registrar indicated, of course, we are led by our Chief Justice, and we are so grateful for her leadership along with helping us with the portal. The team comprises Mr. Gregory Girard, of course, Court Administrator Michelle Dunn-Clevels, our Chief Registrar, myself as IT Manager, and the key persons on the ground, Anderson Henry, our Systems Administrator, and Cynthia and John, who I must thank for the real hard work in ensuring that everyone, every lawyer, every law firm, every person on the portal are served properly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ernest, for that insightful presentation. And you know, we could sit here and boast about the portal, but we don't want you to take just our word for it. And so we wanted to give you the opportunity firsthand to hear it from some of our users. So we invite to the spotlight Miss Gina Dyer Monroe, attorney at law from Dyer and Dyer Attorneys in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Mr. Derek Sylvester, attorney at law, Derek Sylvester and Associates of Grenada. Miss Gloria Kelichi Oyago, court administrator in the Montserrat High Court. And of course, our very own Deputy Chief Registrar, Mr. Carlos Michel. they will all bring to you their testimonials on the use of the portal. So without further ado, we invite them to speak.
Thank you. Her Ladyship, the Honorable Dame Janice M. Pereira, DBE LLD, Chief Justice, Honorable Justices of Appeal of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Honorable High Court Judges and Masters of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, Minister of National Security and Home Affairs of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Honorable Magali Marin-Young, SC, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs of Belize, Honorable John D. Martin, Attorney General of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honorable Levi A. Peter, Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Chief and Senior Magistrates and Magistrates. And at this stage, may I respectfully adopt the protocol that has been established at the commencement of the lodge by Madam Chief Registrar. It is an honor to be part of this exercise. The e-litigation portal, to my mind, is a very significant threshold for the improvement of the administration of justice in the Commonwealth of Dominica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the wider OECS. We must commend the Honorable Chief Justice and all those responsible for the realization of the e-litigation portal. In this world of modern technology, we in the Eastern Caribbean should not be left behind, and therefore we all have a responsibility to ensure that this exercise is successful. Like any new venture, there will always be teething problems, but with dedication, we shall overcome. I was apprehensive about this process, which deracinated me from the norm of paper filing. However, I must say that it is a process that one can quickly learn, embrace, and adopt. I must also say that the training by the support staff who traveled to Dominica during this pandemic to ensure that we got the necessary skills to be equipped for the portal is commendable. That, I must say, was instrumental in assisting me in navigating the portal. And I am sure that that is a testimony of the commitment of the court to the success of this venture. I must confess that I am in a firm with persons who are not as versed in information technology. And the reality is that persons who are a bit older may perhaps be apprehensive. However, my experience is that with the assistance of younger members like myself, we are able to have a smooth transition to those persons who are somewhat apprehensive. What a blessing it is to file a document from the comfort of one's office at 6 p.m. or any hour for that matter. Who would have thought that technology would bring this advancement to the legal profession? At this stage of this pandemic, the portal is of immense and tremendous significance in fundamentally ensuring the continuity of the administration of justice. I wish to adopt the words of Stephen Baller, the former CEO of Microsoft, who said this: "The number one benefit of information technology is that it empowers people to do what they want to do. It lets people be creative. It lets people learn things they did not think they could learn before. And so, in a sense, it is all about potential. Let me once again thank the Honorable Chief Justice for allowing me to be part of this exercise, and thank everyone for being part of this historic occasion in the trajectory of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. I wish the court well in this e-litigation, and I am confident that at the end of this process, justice for all will be the winner. I thank you.
Her Ladyship, the Honorable Dame Janice Pereira, DBE, LLD, Chief Justice, Honorable Justices of Appeal of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Honorable High Court Judges and Masters of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, and in the interest of brevity, may I be permitted to accept the remainder of the protocol list. I bring greetings from the island of Grenada. As the old adage goes, seeing is believing, particularly in the realm of technology. We prefer to see the use and function of an app or program before we can subscribe to it. This morning, I have the distinct pleasure of being able to say that I have personally seen the operation of the e-litigation portal, and I believe that it is perhaps the greatest innovation within the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court since the implementation of the civil procedure rules in the year 2000. The ELP was launched here in Grenada on the 22nd day of June, 2021. And since then, it has been a pleasure experiencing firsthand all the many advantages which were boasted about the portal during its launch in the other OECS islands, and even before then by the Chief Justices. Whereas in the past, time had to be spent in printing documents and sending them to the registry, and then waiting for them to be returned before we can compile a physical file and prepare for service. With the ELP, the time spent on the preparation of the case is just about halved. The steps of opening a physical file and going to the registry are eliminated, thereby allowing efficient time management and use of resources. The ELP allows my office to have more effective and complete control over my matters. All the documents on an entire file, including pleadings and orders, are easily accessible and usefully organized in order of filing dates, which makes it much easier to manage the file. The pack and go function is particularly helpful in this regard. The ELP is further useful in ensuring that filings never go unnoticed and court hearings are brought to counsel's attention. It is not uncommon that by mere human error or inadvertence, a filed document that is served on chambers is placed on a client's physical file without the relevant counsel having seen it at all. The ELP resolves this occurrence in that it alerts me via email and or the portal itself when a document is filed in a particular matter. From there, I can view the document instantaneously and work on that file from wherever I am, whether I'm at the office or away. I have access to the entire file, and I can respond to the pleadings at my convenience. I can work remotely and not be handicapped without the benefit of a complete physical file. This is another benefit of having the ELP, particularly in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic and restrictions placed on interactions with persons, even with staff members. The ability to work remotely is apt for such a time as this. The reduction in administrative costs is also obvious. Apart from the fact that pleadings are filed and served electronically, The preparation of submissions has been much simplified and accounts for a major cost reduction for me. I have found that the Adobe Acrobat DC program works brilliantly with the portal. I am able to convert my written submission from Word format to PDF, sign the submissions, convert my downloaded cases to PDF format, and upload them to the portal without printing a single page. This saves time and resources and is a very welcome change in operations. The interface of the portal is simple and effective. It is easy to file and retrieve documents, represent parties, prepare for service, and to carry out just about every feature on the portal. Having benefited from the extensive and thorough training that our firm participated in over 2 or 3 weeks, my staff and I have become proficient in navigating the portal. And so far, we have had no complaints or regrets. For all these reasons, I wish to commend Her Ladyship, the Honorable Chief Justice, and her entire team for the vision that they have had for the court and the fortitude and patience they've shown in seeing the vision come to fruition. To our fellow colleagues in St. Vincent and Dominica, life in practice is about to become much simpler and more efficient for you. You will soon recognize and come to believe that the e-litigation portal is definitively a practitioner's friend and not a foe. I thank you.
Her Ladyship, the Honorable Dame Janice M. Pereira, Chief Justice, Honorable Justices of Appeal of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Honorable High Court Judges and Masters of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Honorable Ministers of Government of the Commonwealth of Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honorable Attorneys General of the Commonwealth of Dominica and the island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. At this juncture, I will respectfully adopt the protocol already established. Good morning, everyone. It is an honor to briefly share my experience on the use of the e-litigation portal on this auspicious occasion. As with every new initiative, the use of the portal was a bit of a challenge in the beginning. But with continuous use and the help of the IT team at the headquarters, my colleagues and I are able now to more comfortably use the portal than when we first started. In Montserrat, introduction of the portal was quite timely because at the onset of the pandemic last year, our island was totally locked down. But at some point, the business of the court had to continue. We were all home, but I was able to log onto the portal from the comfort of my home and assist our judicial officers with court sittings and court hearings. Another great benefit of the portal for me is that my colleagues and I don't have to run from one end of the court to the other end of the office looking for files. Our files are all on the portal. And loss of files is now a thing of the past, as Her Ladyship rightly said. As a court staff, this is the best of all the qualities of the portal, and it is a huge blessing. I am sure that very soon, the court staff on the islands of the Commonwealth of Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines will echo my sentiments. Thank you, Honorable Chief Justice, for this opportunity. Thank you, Madam Chief Registrar. Thank you, everyone.
Ladyship, the Honorable Dame Janice M. Pereira, DBE, LLD, Chief Justice. With your Ladyship's leave, I wish to adopt the protocol that has so ably been established. Good morning, everyone. Firstly, I would like to take this opportunity to extend sincere congratulations to Her Ladyship and the government and people of the Commonwealth of Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines on this momentous occasion to mark the official launch of the e-litigation portal in those member states. But also, I wish to extend congratulations on the milestone achievement of the court now having linked all 9 member states and territories to the e-litigation portal. This is a moment truly worthy of celebration by the citizens, residents, and court users across the Eastern Caribbean, and one which no doubt your ladyship as Chief Justice is immensely proud of. My task this morning is to give a brief testimonial from the perspective of the Court of Appeal on the e-litigation portal, or the ELP, or the portal, as we most often call it. I need not go into any detail about what the portal does or what it is, as this has been well covered by now, especially by Mr. Ernest. Rather, what I wish to do is, mostly by way of background and context, give a small insight into the impact the portal has had on us at the Registry of the Court of Appeal. As you all know, the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court is no ordinary court. The court represents a single judicial space spanning 6 independent member states and 3 British overseas territories, all separated by a body of water. I stand to be corrected, but I do not believe that there is any other superior court of record in the world which functions in the way the ECSC does. At the High Court level, the court may appear to be like any other court, but the ECSC's unique nature becomes very apparent at the appellate level. The Court of Appeal is situated at the court's headquarters in St. Lucia, but hears appeals from all 9 member states and territories of the court. In ordinary times, pre-COVID, the court would travel and sit in another member state and territory every other week during the court's term. And before the introduction of the portal, to receive documents for those sittings and for the consideration of interlocutory applications, Court of Appeal files were sent by the High Court offices in the member states and territories where they were filed to the court's headquarters in St. Lucia via courier or mail. Those files would then be received, sorted, recorded, placed in folders, and physically placed on the shelves in our judges' offices and the central registry for reading and consideration by the court. When the court was ready to travel for a sitting, those files were then sorted again, packed into the famous banker's boxes for all 7 of our Court of Appeal judges or more, and to take to their appeals in the various member states on LIAT. This, as you can imagine, was a mammoth undertaking to coordinate the movement and management of documents and to ensure that all files go to the right place. Thankfully, with the assistance of a team of 5 dedicated case managers, who I am forever grateful for, we were able to get this done. And most times, things went right. But of course, like anything else, there would be slips, there would be crises that we have to try to take care of. But the ECSC, as the remarkable institution it was, made it work. And for over 50 years, it worked. But because of that, there were doubts as to whether we really needed this e-litigation portal, or why do we need this technology now? I can give you 3 examples of matters completely beyond our hands that will resonate with all of you and which will by now have no doubt put to rest any doubt of not only the importance of the portal, but also its absolute necessity: a pandemic, a hurricane, and a volcanic eruption. The ELP, when in effect, has completely revolutionized our operations. With the click of a button by a practitioner or legal secretary, whether they be at their office, their home, or in transit at an airport, our judicial officers, the Chief Registrar, case managers, and I have instant and direct access to a document filed for the Court of Appeal. This in turn has increased the efficiency of our case flow processes and the retention, storage, and archiving of files. Far more time can be spent doing timely and active case management, scheduling, and preparation for hearings by the Justices of Appeal. And in a COVID-19 era of quarantine, remote work, self-isolation, as a byproduct, the portal has allowed those processes to be conducted from any location on appropriate device with an internet connection. So I want for you to a minute to sit and imagine if, given the current situation we face in the region, we had to solely rely on airmail, LIAT, or courier services to receive files in the face of border restrictions, diminished regional airlift, and public health concerns. The potential for backlog in the Court of Appeal, physically separated from the member states and territories, would be tremendous. Even with other stopgap methods put in place where matters are not on the portal, asking practitioners to scan and forward electronic documents to the court had its challenges. Those practitioners, some of you who may be here today with us, who attend our scheduling case management conferences, would all know too well the annoyance they experience when I say, counsel, please ensure that you provide us with electronic copies of all documents filed in this matter, including the record of appeal and submissions. And whilst I'm saying this, counsel will be looking at a stack of voluminous records on their desk and submissions which you would have to take apart and feed through a scanner to send to us. The portal has done away with all these challenges. Counsel and the court's registry breathe a collective sigh of relief once it's apparent that a matter that is the appeal is a matter on the portal. As Dr. David Dorset, legal practitioner in Antigua, would say to me at Case Management, everything is filed on the portal, we're good to go. And that is really the case. So the portal, of course, has far more functionality than I am able to speak about here today, which includes generating course lists, scheduling, assigning judges, preparation of notices. The possibilities are really endless. Having said that, court rules, procedures, processes have not changed with the introduction of the ELP. But critically, what I want you to all take away from this is an appreciation of the efficiencies and backup redundancies built into having the e-litigation portal. These efficiencies are not just for the court, but for legal practitioners, pro se litigants, and all users, as documents are now able to be instantaneously and smoothly moved through the court process with a simple click. I therefore encourage you all to embrace this development as the court continues to fulfill its mission to serve its member states and territories by providing a system of justice that is accountable and independent and administered in a prompt, fair, and efficient manner. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Diamond Rowe, Mr. Sylvester, Ms. Oyagu, and Mr. Michelle for these testimonials. If before you were not convinced, then I am sure that you are now. Moment.
I'm able to assist again with Chief Registrar. If the IT team at the court headquarters is ready, Chief Registrar, are you with us? Proceed, Chief Registrar.
I'm back. Oh, yes. Thank you. Apologies. And now the moment we've been waiting for our official click, which will be done by Her Ladyship, the Honorable Dame Janice Pereira, Chief Justice.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chief Registrar. I think now is the time for us to have what we will call our official click and official launch of the e-litigation portal for the Commonwealth of Dominica and the state of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And so now we have the click.
It's finally here. The e-litigation portal is now live for the Commonwealth of Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You can now file documents, view case files, generate e-bundles, and so much more online at any time. For more information, visit our website www.eccourts.org, the ECSC e-litigation portal, serving you on time and online.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Chief Justice. And I think this is a virtual round of applause, everyone. We now move into our question and answer segment. We would ask that if you have any questions, that you use the raise hand feature that can be found to the bottom of your screen. And we would be happy to invite you to the spotlight to ask these questions. Mr. Ernest, I think we have, yes, Mr. Douglas Murdoch. Please go ahead, counsel.
Yes, pleasant greetings to everyone. Thank you for all those speeches that were very inspiring. We've had our own experiences here. I had a question about, of course, when we've done filings manually, sometimes we forget to sign, say, an application. So we could go down to the registry and say, oh, I forgot to sign that, and you can still sign it here. When we do it, if we make those little mistakes, those slips, we cannot retrieve those to resubmit them without, well, I guess without paying more. Is that correct? There's no way to, you have to really be certain you've covered your bases, not correct?
Yes, I will invite Mr. Gerard.
Yes, that is correct. You wouldn't be able to sign the electronic copy of the document after it has been filed, simply because that's considered to be altering a document, and the portal allows no alteration of existing filed documents for obvious reasons.
So therefore, the question is, so then to correct that, you have to refile it as amended, or is it just resubmitted?
I'm subject to correction on this, but the first thing is, I'm not sure that the documents actually require a wet signature. I think if the name of the lawyer is typed on the bottom of the document in the law firm, I believe that suffices, but like I say, I'm subject to correction on that.
Counselor, does this answer your question?
Well, no, I mean, I must say no. Because I'm saying if we do an application and we must have a signature, no matter how, because when we PDF it, you can do an electronic signature, et cetera. But if it's just simply not on there, we forgot it, which may be an oversight, because you sign for the date here, then you sign the backing. So if we just forgot one signature, what is the corrective measure for that? Or does the court just accept it and say, well, we know it's from you, it's fine? I don't know that.
Well, if I may just come in here, during the training, I think we try to emphasize, and we can't re-emphasize enough, the counselors to make sure that the documents that are going to be uploaded to the portal are, first of all, the correct version, because we know that we have many different versions of a document, and secondly, that you have the actual signatures in there. When our court staff are also trained to go through the documents once they have been uploaded to the portal to ensure that everything is in order. For instance, all the pages are there, and that there are the signatory documents on the signatory pages on the document. Unfortunately, if the signature is not there, counsel would have to refile that document to ensure that the correct document that you need to place before the court is in accordance with the rules has been filed.
Okay, so the penalty is we repay. It's just like I'm forgetting my wife's birthday. There's no turning back. I pay the penalty and
absolutely
I have to beg for you. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes, and probably get a bigger gift.
Oh, I hope she's not online. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murdoch. Do we have any? Yes, I see Ms. Dawn Yearwood. Counsel, you're on mute. Thank you.
Yes, very well. Thank you. I had an experience sometime last week where uploading divorce proceedings, I uploaded the notice of proceedings as well, which ordinarily has to be signed first by the registrar before service. So I paid, I think, $12 for that. And then it was drawn to my attention and I had to upload again and pay an additional $12. So the question is, how, in a situation like that, when because you're uploading each document, this list, the certificate of reconciliation, the petition, and so on. In a case like that, is there any way in which you can avoid paying twice? Or you just don't upload the notice of proceedings and then upload it later? Because then what happens to that soft copy? Because ordinarily, in ordinary times, prior to litigation, you would have had all your hard copies go in, and then they would give you back those documents, save for the one that the registrar has to sign. And then after that signs and comes back to you, then you serve. But you have a situation now where you upload everything, you've paid on every single document, and then when the registrar signs and it's sent to you, you have to pay again. So I was wondering if there's any way around that.
If I may, Chief Registrar, I believe the guidelines document, which we have sort of provided on our website, sort of commended to all lawyers during the treaty, talks about what do you do with regard to documents that require something to be done in order for it to be filed. For example, swearing of a document by a commissioner for oaths, the signing of a document by a registrar or other person. Those have to be first done. So you, of course, unless they have electronic means of doing it, you would have to bring it to the registry for the registrar or for a commissioner to swear the document. When you go back to your office, you then file it. And that way you avoid the situation of filing and paying, then having to get it printed, signed, and then filing a second time. So I think the guidelines try to explain how you sort of avoid some of those mishaps, because it was things we identified during the early stages where there were these challenges, and put guidelines for practitioners going into the future.
Okay, I will examine that, but I just wish to say that to me, the document has to be filed before the registrar touches it, which means that, you know, there have to be some indication lodged or something like that. I do not think that you can take a notice of proceedings document fresh off the printer to the registrar in these times for her to do anything to it unless it is appearing on the portal. So I could understand swearing before a commissioner for oaths and these things before filing, but to me, this particular one is a bit ticklish. So I don't know how best to get around that issue. But as you said, if reading, I will find these the answers, then I will look to it. But I just thought that situation was a bit concerning to me, paying twice in the circumstances. That's all.
Madam Chief Registrar.
If I could add, counsel, the entire e-litigation portal process is evolving, and we ask counsel to bring to our attention issues that may arise, and then we could sit and review and see what's the best way we could come up with, you know, to alleviate any of these problems. So we invite not just you, but all counsel, put it in writing to our team, and we will do our very best to get around. The answers that we're giving you now is because for so many of the other these other processes, we have no way around it. Similarly to when you shop online, if you order something, you know, it's almost like once you submit, it's almost gone. So the electronic litigation portal is not spared in that regard. But we will look at any difficulties, any challenges, because we want to make this as user-friendly for counsel, all users, as possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counsel. Do we have anyone else? Is there anyone else whose hand is raised?
I'm not seeing any, Chief Registrar, no.
Do we have any members of the media who may have any questions at this time before we bring this segment to a close? Well, thank you very much. If anyone has any questions after this, you could email them to elp@eccourts.org. We'd be more than happy to address your concerns at that time. Thank you very much, Mr. Gerard, for your assistance during this segment. We have come to the end of our well-spent time together this morning. I don't know about you, but I count all of us fortunate to have been here to witness another pivotal milestone of the ECSC. We hope by now that you all share our excitement as together we move into the next phase for improved access to justice for the citizens of the OECS. Before I close this afternoon's proceedings, on behalf of Her Ladyship Dame Janice Emperor, Chief Justice, I would like to thank all of you for attending. Special gratitude is extended to all of our speakers, Honorable Raven Blackmore, Minister, Honorable John D. Martin, Attorney General, Mrs. Heather Felix Evans, Ms. Renee Baptist, CMG, Ms. Gina Diamond Rowe, Mr. Derek Sylvester, Ms. Gloria Oyagu, Mr. Carlos Michel, Mr. Mark Unes, and to all of you who attended. It has been my esteemed pleasure to perform my duties as Master of Ceremonies. And as we bring our official launch to a close, the only thing left for me to do is thank you all for turning out in such large numbers. And we're also streaming on YouTube, where we have quite a few viewers as well. I thank you for your commitment to the court, and may we all look forward to many more milestones to come. Last but by no means least, please remember to observe the protocols that have been put in place for our benefit so that we can all stay safe and healthy in these trying times. Thank you all. God bless and have a good day.
The e-litigation portal is now live for all the member states and territories served by the ECSC. You can now file documents, view case files, generate e-bundles, and so much more online at any time. For more information, visit our website www.eccourts.org. The ECSC e-litigation portal, serving you on time and online.